In September of 1999, I walked through those doors right there at Smithton Community Church in Smithton, Missouri, town of 532 people. Little did I know that this little country church was going to change my life forever. As I walked through those doors, I was somebody that was a charismatic Christian. I thought I was speaking in tongues. I thought I understood the power of God, but when I walked through these doors, I saw something I'd never seen before. I saw the power of God moving through the people of God in a way that brought the presence of God, and it scared me half to death. In September of 1999, I came to a pastors and leaders conference per the request of my parents. Little did I know that Pastor Steve and Kathy Gray, who just 3.5 years earlier, on March 24th, 1996, said yes to the power of God and said yes that they would host a revival that was about to touch the world. From this little church right here in Smithton, Missouri, my life changed forever. Now, 16 years later, February 2016, my pastor at a new church called Life Christian Center has been speaking to us out of Genesis 26, telling us that it's time to redig the wells, that it's time to go back to the places that our fathers dug wells and to remove the earth and unearth that which God has done in the past so that we can dig new wells and move forward into the future. We are on the verge of the third great awakening. We are on the verge of a revival that the world has yet to see. We are on the verge of major things happening in the earth. The earth is prepared for what God is about to do. And the Lord has instructed me on this February 4th, 2016, to come and redig the wells that were dug here in Smithton, Missouri. As I came back here this morning, I walked around this little country church. And as I walked around it, I got to the very back of the church where the altar was. And while I was there, I put my face against the wall and I began to weep, remembering how the power of God had first scared me, then touched me in such a powerful way and has changed my life forever. When I left this little town of 532 people and went back to Seattle, Washington, where I was a very successful youth pastor, I prayed for my students and I lifted up my hands behind the altar rail, and all I did was tell them my testimony about how my life was changed in this place. When I did that, the power of God struck the students in that room, and they began to fall down like toy soldiers. My youth staff, 10 people, looked at me with eyes wide open, did not know what to say or do. That was on a Sunday evening. That Monday morning, I got a phone call from the council members, the council president, who called me into a meeting that evening in which they instructed me that I had caught a virus and that they didn't want to have anything to do with it in their church. Little did I know that in this little country church in Smithton, Missouri, I had caught the virus called revival, and it was beginning to spread in the Lutheran church in which I was affiliated for 5 years up to that point. But unfortunately, just like with the pastors of Steve and Kathy Gray that the Lord used to start this revival in this little country church, the religious system did not want the move of God. I am here to say thank you, first and foremost, to Pastor Steve and Kathy Gray for saying yes to host a move of God, to saying yes to revival, to allowing the lightnings of God to strike them, to allowing a congregation of people to learn how to experience the power of all. So somebody like me could come into this place and now 16 years later remember the sacrifices that you made. I also am here to redig the wells of revival. As I walked around this little country church today, there's a light at the top corner in the back that is dangling and it's creaking. It's been falling down. There's beer cans just over here around the corner. There's brush all over this place. There's bird poop on the step right here. And it says to me that though this place was a place where the well of God was dug, the enemy has come and thrown dirt on this move of God. And I'm here today to redig that well. Because I know that out of redigging this well that my father dug and named the Smithton Outpouring on March 24th, 1996, they named it the Smithton Outpouring. They believed that it was not going to be a platform revival, but it was going to be a revival for the people, from the people, and through the people. And Pastor Steve and Kathy Gray hosted that kind of a revival. I want to thank Randy and Casey Lohman. I want to thank Dan and Shelley Gray. I want to thank Bill and Carol Gilpin for being people that hosted the move of God and touched my life in such a powerful way. I will never never forget what you did for me in this little country church. I will forever be grateful, and I will stand on your shoulders, and I will take the next move of God if the Lord allows me to. I will take the message in the ministry of the next move of God into the future and teach people and tell people what I learned in this place. I remember the very first sermon that was preached to me in this place by Pastor Steve Gray. It was about Jonah. And he said, some of you ministers need to throw yourselves overboard so that the storm will cease in your ministry. And I remember when he said that, I went up for prayer, and the power of God touched me in such a mighty way. I'm forever grateful for Smithton Community Church. And I'm here today on February 4th, 2016, to re-dig the well of the Smithton revival, of the revival that came to a little country church. Because Pastor Bill Virgin of Life Christian Center said, this is the time to redig the wells of your fathers. And then in that place, starting here, I'm going to go forward from here to Concordia, Missouri, and dig a new well where Catherine Kuhlman, who was a healing evangelist, was born and began a well of healing revival. And it is time to dig new wells into the future because God is about to break out in a powerful way. So once again, thank you, Pastor Steve and Kathy Gray. I'm forever indebted to you for saying yes to God and for teaching me how to die to me so that I can live to Him. I truly will never be the same again. I thank you. One of the things the Lord has asked me to do is to go and redig wells. I started in Smithton, Missouri today, and I went to my father's well, where Pastor Steve Gray said yes to the move of God and revival in Smithton, Missouri. Now about 30 miles away, I'm in Concordia, Missouri, where Catherine Kuhlman lives. She's a healing evangelist who believed in the power of the Holy Spirit. She was very well known in Los Angeles and various other places around the country. And I'm here today to redig the well of Catherine Kuhlman, to stand on this ground and declare and decree that healing is going to be released in our land again. That as a part of the Third Great Awakening, we are going to see healing happen in our country. We're going to see sicknesses and diseases cast out. We're going to see cancer healed in people's bodies. We're going to see limbs grow forth in people's bodies. These hands are going to be healing hands, just as Catherine Kuhlman's were. She believed in the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is God. He is one function of God and is able to heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the leper, and cast out demons. And I am here today in Concordia, Missouri, redigging the well of Catherine Kuhlman, declaring on this land that in Missouri, where all of these things started, we will see a great awakening. We will see the beginning of a mighty move of God. We will experience the power of God through revival like they saw in Smithton, Missouri, and through the healing movement as was started through Catherine Kuhlman, who was born in this little small town. What has caught my attention is the reality that these places are small, small towns. They're just small little places where God chose to show up. The significance of the place is not as relevant as the person that was in that place. But there is something to do with places. In Genesis 26, Isaac went back and redug his father's wells, and he named them what his father named them before he went forward and redug his own wells. So I am here in the birthplace of Catherine Kuhlman in Concordia, Missouri on February 4th, 2016, redigging the well of healing that she dug here. So I decree and declare that the loosing of healing, the release of the healing well is opened again today. And I am going to be a member of one that lays hands on the sick and watches them recover. I am here to pay honor to Catherine Kuhlman in the city of Concordia, Missouri. And I want to thank her for saying yes to God, for saying yes to the Holy Spirit, for saying yes to Jesus the Christ, and allowing Him to be Lord of her life so that healing could flow through her body. We thank you that she was a woman that was long before her time, but it was because of women like her that women like me get to stand in this place and decree and declare that healing will happen again in America. May God bless you, Catherine Kuhlman, for what you did, and may God bless America.